It's happening again. Today's 1111 portal isn't dramatic on the surface, but it's powerful underneath. And if you found your way here, there's a reason for that. This portal isn't about spectacle. It's about recognition. Recognition of how close you've actually been to God, to Source, to the higher intelligence moving through your life, often without you even realizing it. Today isn't opening something outside of you. It's revealing something that's already been forming within you for a long time. For some, God is a name. For others, it's Source, the universe, consciousness, truth, or the higher self. Different words, same direction, upward, inward, deeper. What matters today isn't what you call it, but how clearly you're beginning to feel it. And this portal reveals that clarity through signs, not loud signs, not mystical performances, but quiet, unmistakable shifts that only show up when you're truly growing closer to the source of life itself. The first sign appears in a way most people don't expect. You may notice that you're suddenly at peace with being misunderstood, not isolated, not rejected, peaceful. There's no urgency to explain yourself anymore, no frustration when people don't fully get your choices, your timing, or your evolution. You're not trying to correct perceptions. You're not trying to be seen accurately by everyone. Something inside you has relaxed, and that relaxation is sacred. When someone grows closer to God or Source, validation loses its grip. Not because you don't care about people, but because your inner alignment has become stronger than external approval. You stop shrinking to be accepted. You stop over-explaining to be understood. And you stop chasing agreement to feel secure. Being misread no longer feels threatening. It feels freeing. Because when your energy sharpens, not everyone can match it. And for the first time, that doesn't disturb you. The second sign is subtle, but life-changing. You may feel drawn toward things your old self would have avoided. New paths, new environments, new responsibilities. Even endings that once felt terrifying now feel possible. Not exciting, not dramatic, just strangely natural. This isn't recklessness, it's alignment. Fear hasn't disappeared. It's simply lost its authority. True courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers. It shows up as calm in the face of uncertainty, as steadiness when everything is shifting, as a quiet inner knowing that says, "This is where I'm meant to go next." You're not acting impulsively. You're responding to a frequency that no longer matches your past. The universe isn't pushing you forward. It's magnetizing you toward a chapter that fits who you are now, not who you were years ago. The third sign reveals itself socially. You may notice you're no longer interested in performing your growth. There's no desire to prove how evolved, aware, or successful you've become. You don't feel the need to narrate your journey. You're not chasing admiration or recognition. You're simply living. And that's a powerful shift. This isn't withdrawal, it's maturity. When you grow closer to Source, image loses importance. Alignment replaces appearance. You stop trying to look like you're evolving and start actually evolving. Social validation fades because inner coherence takes its place. And when that happens, something profound changes. Your life stops demanding attention and starts demanding authenticity. You're no longer acting from how you want to be perceived. You're moving from what feels true. The fourth sign arrives through perception. You may notice you're beginning to feel people more than analyze them. The noise falls away. And beneath the words, you sense the emotional truth. You feel the insecurity behind the arrogance, the exhaustion behind the silence, the hurt behind the defensiveness. This isn't about becoming overly empathetic or absorbing others' pain. It's about clarity. When you grow closer to God or Source, judgment dissolves. Not because you excuse everything, but because you understand more deeply. You respond less, react less, defend less. You see what's actually happening underneath behavior. And once that awareness activates, you can't unsee it. You move through social spaces with a deeper intelligence, one that doesn't need to prove itself. The fifth sign shows up as a shift in tolerance. Things that once drained you, petty conflicts, shallow dynamics, emotional games, no longer interest you. Not because you feel superior, but because your inner world has expanded. The universe doesn't elevate you by removing problems. It elevates you by changing the kind of problems you're willing to engage with. Your mind drifts toward long-term creation instead of short-term reactions. You think about stability, purpose, meaning, contribution. You'd rather build something real than argue something small. You'd rather face uncertainty than stay stuck in what's predictable but lifeless. If you've made it this far, don't forget to subscribe for daily cosmic insights, astrology updates, and spiritual guidance, because the universe always has a message for you. This isn't a mood, it's a maturation of consciousness. Your energy is rejecting what doesn't grow you without effort or resentment. The sixth sign may feel uncomfortable. You might experience a strange internal pressure, not stress, not sadness, but a deep sense of being in between identities, between chapters, between who you were and who you're becoming. Old habits feel outdated. Old roles feel tight. But the next version of your life hasn't fully formed yet. This liminal space is sacred. It's where transformation happens. When life feels too small, it's because you're being prepared for a reality that fits. The exhaustion you feel isn't laziness, it's rewiring. The restlessness isn't confusion, it's expansion. The universe stretches you before it stretches your life. Your identity softens. Your outdated beliefs dissolve. And the discomfort rises, not to break you, but to make room for you. The seventh sign is the return of pure intuition. Not loud, not dramatic, clean, quiet, precise. You simply know. You stop overthinking. You stop debating yourself. Choices become clearer. The signal cuts through the noise. True intuition doesn't shout. It feels calm, grounded, certain. You may notice you're making decisions faster, not impulsively, but confidently. The guidance flows beneath your mind instead of battling it, and that's how you know it's real. Fear argues. Intuition recognizes. When this clarity returns, life doesn't get easier. It gets simpler. The difference between guidance and anxiety becomes unmistakable. The eighth sign is one of the most misunderstood. You may find yourself saying no more often, losing interest in certain conversations, walking away from environments that no longer resonate. This isn't negativity, it's discernment. Spiritual growth isn't measured by what you desire, it's measured by what you refuse to tolerate. The universe isn't impressed by how much you want, it responds to how clearly you protect your alignment. Today's portal sharpens that clarity. You're not expanding by adding more, you're expanding by removing what distorts your frequency. Refusal becomes sacred, boundaries become natural, and your energy becomes cleaner as a result. The ninth sign is quiet but profound. You may feel drawn toward stillness, not isolation, stillness. The noise around you loses its grip. Social pressure fades. Constant stimulation feels unnecessary. This isn't burnout, it's tuning in. As the external volume lowers, the internal truth becomes audible again. You reconnect with a part of yourself that existed before expectations, before conditioning. before performance, the original voice, the one that knew what mattered before you were told what was impressive. This portal is a return to that blueprint. You're not detaching from life. You're detaching from distortion. And as that happens, everything begins to rearrange. There comes a moment on every spiritual path when seeking softens, not because you found all the answers, but because you realize the answers were never lost. Today marks that moment for many. You stop seeing God or the universe as distant forces guiding you from above. You recognize them as intelligence expressing itself through you, through your intuition, your timing, your clarity, your choices. You weren't being called closer. You were being reminded that you were never far. The signs, the synchronicities, the moments of alignment, they weren't external gifts. They were reflections of your internal state. The universe responded because you signaled first. And today, that relationship becomes obvious. The frantic searching dissolves, the urgency fades, because the path no longer feels handed to you. It feels like it's growing out of you. This is the shift from seeking to embodying, from chasing signals to becoming the signal, from asking for guidance to realizing guidance has been speaking through you all along. The portal isn't the invitation, you are. If you're still here, still listening, that matters. Resonance is never random. You don't need to rush. You don't need every answer. Just stay aligned with what feels true. Meet what comes next softly. The rest will unfold when it's time. And if this message reached you, even quietly, then you're already closer than you think. What happens after the 1111 portal opens? After the 1111 portal activates, many people expect immediate clarity. Answers, direction, a sudden sense of certainty. But what actually follows is something far more revealing. The universe doesn't rush to explain itself. It waits to see how you respond when things don't immediately make sense. In the days after the portal, you may notice a quiet destabilization, not chaos, not collapse, just a subtle loosening of the structures you once relied on. Routines feel thinner. Old motivations don't carry the same weight. Even familiar goals can feel strangely hollow. This isn't loss, it's recalibration. When you grow closer to Source, the universe stops reinforcing identities you've already outgrown. It withdraws emotional energy from roles, habits, and desires that no longer reflect who you're becoming. And without that reinforcement, those parts of life begin to fade on their own. This phase often feels confusing because nothing is wrong, yet nothing feels fully right either. You're not meant to rush through this space. This is where discernment develops, where you learn to sense alignment without external confirmation, where silence becomes instructional. What's happening is not punishment or delay, it's trust. The universe is allowing you to stand without constant feedback, to move without reassurance, to listen without noise. This is how inner authority forms. And as this authority strengthens, something else begins to shift. Your reactions soften, your emotional spikes flatten. Situations that once pulled you into urgency now meet you with space. Not because you don't care, but because your nervous system is learning safety at a deeper level. This is the quiet aftermath of the portal. Not fireworks, but foundation. Why some people manifest faster after 1111 and others don't. One of the most misunderstood aspects of the 1111 portal is manifestation. People assume alignment automatically produces instant results, but closeness to Source doesn't speed things up equally for everyone. It reveals readiness. Those who manifest quickly after the portal aren't more spiritual, they're less conflicted. Their inner world isn't split between desire and resistance, between truth and performance, between intuition and fear. Manifestation doesn't respond to intensity, it responds to coherence. After the portal, many people are still emotionally attached to outcomes that no longer fit their frequency. They want the old dream to succeed at the new level, and the universe doesn't comply with that mismatch. Instead, it slows things down, not as denial, but as protection. When you grow closer to God or Source, manifestation becomes less about acquiring and more about aligning. You may notice that what arrives isn't what you asked for, but what stabilizes you, what grounds you, what prepares you. This is why some people feel like life accelerates overnight, while others feel paused. The pause isn't failure, it's refinement. The universe will not reward clarity with confusion. It will not amplify desire that contradicts truth. Fast manifestation follows inner congruence. Slow manifestation follows inner correction. And once the correction is complete, movement resumes, often faster than expected, but without chaos. The one mistake that cancels manifestation after 11 and 11, there is one subtle mistake that dissolves the power of this portal more than anything else, and most people make it without realizing. They rush to define what the portal means. They label it, explain it, turn it into an identity, announce it, perform it, try to use it. But the 1111 portal doesn't respond to interpretation. It responds to embodiment. The moment you try to force meaning, you pull energy back into the mind. And alignment doesn't live there. It lives in lived truth, in how you respond, in what you tolerate, in what you walk away from quietly. Another version of this mistake is urgency, trying to use the energy before it settles, trying to act before clarity arrives, trying to manifest before integration completes. The universe doesn't reward effort here, it rewards patience. After 1111, stillness is not inactivity, it's assimilation. You're meant to let the frequency anchor into your nervous system before you act from it. Otherwise, you'll repeat old patterns with new language. True alignment doesn't announce itself, it stabilizes. And once stabilized, manifestation becomes inevitable, not because you chased it, but because nothing inside you resists it anymore. Why everything speeds up 30 days after a portal. About 3 to 4 weeks after a true portal activation, something noticeable happens. Life begins to move again. Conversations appear, decisions finalize, opportunities surface, momentum returns. This isn't coincidence, it's integration timing. The universe doesn't move until your internal frequency becomes sustainable. Not peak, sustainable. The 30-day window allows your nervous system to normalize higher awareness, to build emotional capacity, to recalibrate identity. Once this happens, reality responds quickly, not dramatically, but efficiently. Things that once required effort now require response. What used to feel blocked now feels open. Not because circumstances changed, but because you did. By this point, you're no longer chasing alignment. You're returning to it naturally. Stress resolves faster. Confusion clears quicker. Decisions feel cleaner. This is when life begins treating you differently. Not because you became special, but because you became stable. The universe accelerates around people who can hold clarity without collapsing into old reactions, who can receive without grasping, who can move without forcing. This is the quiet reward of the portal, not a miracle, a momentum. And if you're noticing subtle forward motion after a period of stillness, that's the sign. The recalibration is complete. You're no longer being prepared. You're being trusted. If you're still listening, still resonating, still feeling this land somewhere deeper than thought, that's not random. You didn't miss the portal. You didn't fall behind. You moved through it exactly as you were meant to. Stay grounded, stay honest, stay aligned. The rest is already moving toward you.